Peace and blessings, y'all. This is your boy Gerald. It is Thursday. What's the 18th? No, the 19th, January 2017. And I know I've been pretty active on my channel as of late. But today, I'm feeling a certain kind of way. I'm going to throw this disclaimer out. This is nothing but a narrative. So, this is a man talking to you. Now, unless you have not had access to any form of media, we're 24 hours away from a new administration, which will be Donald Trump. Now, this video is not going to be about bashing, but this is about understanding. And before I go there, because I know it's like, there you go smoking. Yeah, I am. I'm working on it. And I'll do what I need to do. February is not going to be continuance. You can rest assured that. But instead of picking up a drug, picking up a bottle, escaping, I look at the things that I must challenge and master so I have a better understanding of who I am. And to be honest with you, y'all, which is the only way I can be, you have a right to be frustrated. You have a right to have a little bit of anguish. You have a right to not feel that services were rendered or basically left holding the bag. And there's a reason why I'm saying this. Because there is opportunity when things are unsettled, when there is no balance, because it will force you to do something about it. Now you may be wondering, well, what do you mean? Okay. And I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can. But the truth of the matter is, these past 8 years ain't been a walk in the park. And the more that I think about it, what a lot of people are feeling is more or less a political version of Stockholm syndrome. Don't know what I mean by the term Stockholm syndrome is when the abused defends the abuser. You see that in society where that domestic history of violence and the companion will not leave the toxic situation. You may also see it in the scenario, or if it's the child and the child is being raised in a toxic environment. So it is being indoctrinated to repeat and perpetuate the things it has been exposed to. And, you know, it's sad because, well, that's a bad choice of words. Hold that thought. Come on, let's go. Let's go. All right, thank you for your patience. All right, because right now I'm seeing a lot of people have this mystique about the last 8 years. And I was one of them. I had a whole lot of hope. And to be honest, y'all, we got left holding the bag. We got bamboozled. There was a lot of sleight of hand going on. While we were trying to secure the front door, it was coming through the back, leaving the window open, only to feel violated over and over and over again. But see, this isn't nothing new. This ain't nothing new because I knew I had spoke about this before in a video that I had seen this before, but I couldn't put my finger on it. But I'd seen the same sleight of hand. See, living in Virginia, I remember when we had our first black governor. His name was Douglas. His name is Douglas Wilder. He was very charismatic, and his platform was also about change and all the things he wanted and was intending to do. Keyword intending to do. But the ironic thing about it was he did nothing. We elected him. He sat in that seat and he ran the taxes up. The crime was high. The jobs were low. And that was the very first time I'd seen an actual attempt to destabilize public education. So we're talking our babies, y'all. We're talking about our babies. The people that we're supposed to protect, the people we're supposed to educate, the people that we are supposed to nurture, our most sacred resource, our lineage. So I imagine, just like you, when our beloved president would have an address, you would sit there with bated breath to hear what he was going to give to the masses. But you know what? What do we have to show for it? What do we have to show for it? You know, there was one thing that I had hoped in the 8 years of his presidency to see come to pass. I was so I was so focused on that I had sat down and I drafted up a 4-page letter of ideas and solutions, hoping that, and I sent it to our governor. At that time was Governor Bob McDonnell. And it was the fact that, hey, we need to do something about public education. And it all started with one day uh, um, a relationship that I was in. I remembered the moment that the person that I was involved with deeply loved, by the way, loved, she had children, and I had grown to love them because they were an extension of her. And I remember the first time her child came in, had his backpack, and I was like, where are your books? I was expecting to see books. And of course, the excuses came, but the hope was still there. The importance of, hey, you need to take your education serious. But I never saw books. And this started to make me very concerned because, see, this child attended a brand new high school, brand new. And I started to do a little research and I was like, well, how is it that you have a brand new high school, but you don't have books in this school? That you are forcing the students to share the materials that should be given to them just because they attend. I couldn't understand that, y'all. I couldn't understand why in the 2000 era that there's still schools that do not have supplies. Well, my rude awakening would come and smack me dead in the face when the governor at that time would propose legislation, or better known as cutbacks, to reduce the state budget by $740 million. I was appalled. I was offended because that told me that at the least we don't see the investment. We don't care about the future of those teenagers, soon to be adults, to invest in them. We don't care about them. I couldn't understand that statewide $740 million deduction. That meant at the least that new school teacher or that seasoned educator would have a smaller budget for the supplies and the tools needed for their curriculum. That also means that funding for sports and the arts would get drastically small. Needless to say, what about those children that needed that extra step, that extra help for tutoring after school? That was non-existent. So instead of being angry, I sat down. sat down and wrote a letter. I empathized, and I looked at it from a viewpoint of, well, if I was the governor, what options could I have that would prevent me from having to put this legislation out here, from having to take such a significant amount of money away from our babies. And about 2 or 3 days of coming out of ideas, doing research on my own, I came up with a solution. I had found out that every year they spend over $85,000 for recycled books or destroying books. And I was like, why are you spending all this amount of money when you could take this book and give it to a school that might need it? Same thing with you know, furniture and stuff. You know, if you don't need it, give it to another school that can. But for some reason, I remember I saw this somewhere else. And it reminded me of my time in the United States Air Force, where we had this policy that with the annual budget, if you did not use it, you lose it. So then I said, well, you know what? What if you had schools that were near a federal installation, or there's a military presence there? Maybe some of that stuff, some of that furniture, you can give to the state, because it's federal and state government, but it's still government. You know, just like you have companies that adopt highways, why is it we can't adopt a school? But instead, we have gotten to a point of, well, if I don't use it, I know it may be still brand new, I'm going to destroy it. Y'all. That's why that old parable, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Researching. And then I said, well, you know, how could you save more money over a broader period of time? And then it clicked. So instead of having hardback books, why don't you invest in laptops and tablets? There's plenty of these companies out here, these tech companies, that will gladly get behind that, because you get the product into the schools, which actually, because of verbal and visual connections, it also sets up future brand loyalty. So I sat down and I drafted down this letter, right, of how they could do these few things and it wouldn't affect our children. And then the last thing I came up with was this. Every time you turn around, y'all, we got a march. We got a fundraiser. We got somebody on the boob tube talking about give, give, give. But you don't never hear nobody talking about, hey, look here, let's invest in our schools. Why is that? I even did one better. I said, you know what? Isn't that what the lottery's about? Isn't that the foundation of what the lottery stands for? For highways and roads and schools? Why is it you'll never hear about the lottery cutting a check for schools? Why they don't never advertise that? And if they do, drop me a line so I know it exists, because it seems like we're quick to buy that lotto ticket, but the greatest lotto ticket is your child. So then that made me think. I said, well, you know what? What if, just what if, every time you go to your grocery store, just like you look on the wall, there's a charity going on for this ailment and this this disease. Why don't they just pick 1 month? You give $1, and that dollar goes solely into your local your public education system. Think about every time that you go to the gas station to fill up. If you took $1 and it went directly into that child's education, it would be simple. We wouldn't have a deficit. We wouldn't. But why is it that we don't? Why isn't we're not doing that? Why is it not? So I put that as the backdrop to say this. We want to turn around and hold President Obama in high regard. But when you think about it, what did he really do? What did he really do for your community? I didn't care about, and I know this might sound selfish, but the United States gives so much money across the world. But why aren't we investing in our own community? How can you take care of your neighbor's yard if you won't cut yours? Why is that? I don't understand that. So the one thing that I was hoping in the 8 years he would have put some legislation out there and said, look here, we are going to fix our schools. We're going to invest in the programs that will stimulate and inspire every child. Now, at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of that child to want to educate itself. You could be the best. You could have a child that lives in a home with educators. Parents are educated, degreed up. That child doesn't want to embrace the knowledge. It won't. There's nothing you can do. That's a fact. Why? That's free will. Nobody can make you do nothing you don't want to do. So, on the contrary, does it make sense that the environment that we are in now, there are guns all over our community, everywhere. It's glamorized. But here's the funny thing, though. When you think about it, I remember the 80s, instead of them being guns, there used to be crack vials. There used to be used syringes. There used to be drug paraphernalia and trash everywhere. I remember that. And I also remember growing up in D.C. when the Washington Post had the nerve to put on the front page the new endangered species, the black male, age expectancy between 18 and 23. At that time, I was 20, getting ready to turn 21. I was terrified because they were talking about me and the stigma. Every day I went to work and did my job to the best of my ability, only to see a woman who did not know me clench her purse. Kind of woes me moment, y'all. This is the product of what ignorance and non-investment in ourselves. That's the harvest. That's the harvest. So let's fast forward 22 years. Everything's in reverse now. Everybody named mama got a laptop, a tablet, a cell phone, the dummy TV. Media is everywhere. Why is it now? You gotta search through the wee hours. You gotta filter through all the garbage and the distractions and the pit, because see that right there, instead of it being outside your door, it's inside, it's right in front of your mind. It used to be the only threat you had to worry about if you had a little one was the people you didn't know and the things that went on outside your door. No. We live in a cowardice society that takes no accountability but does not do anything to better it. Why? Because you have a lot of people that have allowed what their conditioning was to influence what is. This morning, this morning when I came home from running my morning errand, I heard somebody say, well, the state of relationships is tragic because women had to learn to be independent because the failure of their men. And on one side, I was like, that was bold of you to get on the radio and use that as an excuse. But at the end of the day, aren't you responsible for your life? You don't get a badge for living correctly. That's nothing but a reflection of your moral compass. That's just like somebody looking to get a pass or a badge because of their gender. Really? You should do that because that's who you are. Oh, look at me, I'm doing the right thing. You're supposed to do the right thing. If you're going to call yourself a man, if you're going to call yourself a woman, you don't get no gold star for. That's what's required to live in society. So when I heard that, I'm like, nobody's going to sit over here and start tap dancing just to fit in. Some of y'all are starting to understand that the environment that you were in only served to show you what you don't need, but does not give you an excuse to run away from your life. Why you think you hear people say, when you get lemons, you make lemonade? And when I turned around, I just flipped it back. I said, that's why God makes a way when there is no way. But it matters not if you don't know you. How can you combat the oppressor if you don't see the abuse? Why complain? And that's all you're seeing nowadays. Everybody got something to say. Everybody's got a critique, but ain't nobody got a solution. Why? Why? Because the truth of the matter is, deep down inside, you got insecurities about yourself, and you're using your behavior hoping that it will stick. Well, we all feel this way. If you all feel this way, then why won't you do something about it? What's the point of complaining if you don't have a solution? So I can't give props where props were not earned. I can't. I can't do that. That's the same as that's just like somebody cheating on a test. You might have had the high score and you might have passed that class. But guess what? What was really given was the knowledge. If you didn't embrace it, you failed and you deemed to repeat it. It's just a matter of time. So, I want you to take note of this. Well, first of all, let me throw this out here. If you don't like your situation, how much time are you going to let go by to change before you decide to change it? Or what is it that you're willing to lose until you do? What are you willing to sacrifice? Because you're going to sacrifice a whole lot of stuff until you decide to get back here. Because at the end of the day, this is going to be a reality check for somebody. At the end of the day, the only person that really cares, that should care, is you. Your friends are not obligated to your growth. Those are not their steps. That is not their foundation. It's yours. But see, you have some people that will choose to play the victim card. Woes is me. I'm not doing this because of this. Okay. But you're not taking in consideration that just as you're saying, woes is me, and this is why I'm not doing this, there are people over there saying, I'm glad you're not doing that because I'm benefiting off of you. And they won't have the courage or the integrity to tell you that. They won't tell you that. They will use you up or keep you around until they find someone else so that they can leech off of. Why are you waking up this morning worrying about somebody that is not going to be in your life maybe next year, maybe the next 6 months, maybe the next 5 years? See, that's the reality of the world that we in. You can't just, people getting married just out of convenience. How cowardice is that? But I kind of get it too, because if you don't love you, you can't expect them to love you back. We are what we attract, family. No matter how you turn around to deflect it until you decide to do your work, can you see your change? So I can't give props because all they did was prop someone so that they could further the agenda by way of distraction. Here's something you might find interesting. I was doing some reading and I found out that, did you know that sweet, young Malia, yes, the president's daughter, Malia, you know how much she's worth? She's worth over $250 million. Now, before you turn around and say, you're just being a hater, Gerald, I'm just kind of curious how she did it. You got to know that. Do the research. But some of y'all can relate. Some of y'all New Yorkers know. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all saw it when David Dinkins was your mayor. And what did he do? He set you back, didn't he? He implemented the stop and frisk. Mm-hmm. All this was nothing but a giant psyop. It's like scientists do with a with a with a with a little lab rat, and they put the cheese there, and they got the maze going, and they looking at you like, what are you gonna do? You see it there. We've waved it under your nose. We're putting it way over there. How you gonna navigate through that? Well, that labyrinth is your life. That's your life. So while you will hear a lot of people talk about, well, Donald Trump this and they that, and keep this in mind. Does Donald Trump, is he sitting at your table? Is he responsible for your bills? Is he responsible for your way of life and your decision making? Because if he's not directly connected to you, that's an excuse for you not to claim your life and do what you need to do. Now, on the flip side, here's the opportunity. And we can thank our beloved president for this too. And some of y'all have to be honest about this. How is it in the last 8 years we have not seen so much social economic divide? How is that possible? Now, here's a blessing out of that. Because of economic division, which impacts the social climate of the haves and the have-nots, you had people feel comfortable to be who they are, and gives you an opportunity to see what was behind the mask. Questions should be asked: how are you going to adjust or adapt to that climate? Now, here's another thing. You do also have some people that look at this new administration as a saving grace. Little do they know, they're going to feel the same effect that we felt the last 8 years. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? There are going to be certain concessions that have to be met. there are going to be certain mandates that are going to be required. And guess what? If you ain't part of that top 1%, it doesn't matter what you look like. And a lot of people are going to be shocked because they're going to think that, well, you know, you look just like me, so you're going to give me a pass. No, he's not. No, he's not. You are going to be sadly disappointed. And I understand there's nothing wrong with having hope. There's nothing wrong with inspiration. There's nothing wrong with that. But what is hope and inspiration without dialogue? You can't communicate. So maybe the bare truth, the rawness, will require you to take your life more serious as well as your time. Because at the end of the day, guess what? Congress could turn around 24 hours later and say, you know what? My bad. Let's impeach him and get him up out of here. Right? And guess what? He's still a billionaire. He'll still have the life he had before it. And guess what? It's not required for him to have any empathy for your plight. Because at the end of the day, it's about the seeds you sow. I got mine. Why you need to get yours? That's what it boils down. That's what it boils down to. That's why you're seeing so many people today running up there to kiss the ring. I think it's kind of funny. I really do. People are real passionate about, they got their voice. But anybody can say whatever they want with a camera. But would you say that when they're right in front of you? You're in the same room. Have that same passion then. Because that's what integrity requires. But I ain't seen that. I've been seeing a lot of sleight of hand lately. Well, how you feel that? Well, what happened? What happened to all that vigor? You was yelling that for a whole, what happened to it? Where did it go? Or did they tell you what reality is? Come on now. See, it is your responsibility to stay informed in your environment. This is your responsibility. It's like how they say it, not knowing the law is not an excuse. Not being informed is not a pass. There are going to be laws and referendums that are going to be funneled through our through Congress very quickly, y'all. Very quickly. That's going to impact everything about you. But if you don't take a second to stay informed, you're going to feel the effect of it. Because I'm going to tell you what, if you're too busy worrying about what Sasha's wearing, who Larry's screwing, what lie he told, and you're fantasizing about that world, guess what? They're playing a part. And the part is to keep you distracted from what's outside your door. Now I'm saying this to you millennials. Life ain't about a party until the work's done. And if you got work still not done, you better learn to manage your time. You better learn to manage your time, because I'm gonna tell you what, you blink twice, you're gonna be in your 50s preaching and singing a sad song about, man, I let 20 years goodbye. I didn't know that I was gonna end up where I am. But you do also understand that there's also a campaign to keep you not informed too, right? Come on, now think about it. Everything that you receive by way of communication has an agenda to keep you ill informed. Come on, think about it. Think about it. From the music you hear to the people you affiliate. If they do not spawn growth, if they do not have an integrity with themselves, if they do not see their worth, how can you expect them to see yours? See, some of us Generation Xers remember this. For you guys that remember the Reagan era, the Reagan, y'all remember that? You remember how it was? There was a thin line between those who had and those who had not. And what was very evident is excuses didn't feed you. Either you had it or you did not. And I got a feeling somebody needs to hear this. Stop playing with your FICO score, whoever I'm talking to. And start educating yourself when it comes to your finances. That's for somebody. Oh, I'll put something on it. No, pay your bills. Pay your bills, get from under them, and you'll start to see progression. If you want to keep the mindset of I'll just put a little bit on it, but because I want to do this on the weekend. Well, guess what? You'll be paying for that for a long time. Long time. That burger on that credit card will take you 6 months to pay off. Pay your damn bills. Pay your damn bills. Because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Queens, but listen. You know, all this fun, all this getting over, all this debauchery y'all doing, that's been ready to dry up. People are going to start to see the value of that dollar. And they're going to say, well, you know what? I know you want to go out to eat. You like going out to eat every weekend. But we're going to the grocery store and we're going to start eating at the house. And you're going to see it. You're going to see it. It's going to be like a wave. Businesses are going to feel the effect. Restaurants are going to feel the effect. Oh, yeah, you're going to see it. And you're going to see who is there compared to who's not. Why? Because they're going to have to raise their prices up just to make sure. And they're going to be businesses that are going to fold because they weren't prepared. They thought that liquid revenue. Y'all do know minority community. That's how a lot of you, they see you as liquid assets. Because it's just as quick as you get it, you spend it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They even got an artist out here that got a song about it. Spend it, spend it, spend it, get that check and make it right back. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And that's how they look at you, like, well, don't worry. 1st and 15th, they'll be out here. But this is what you ain't gonna see. And I've been telling y'all, real men don't wear their wealth. They see down the road. They invest it. And here's the humbling part. All y'all that had these facades and like, well, yeah, well, Larry gonna take care of me. Yeah. Y'all gonna be able to see what's factual from what was potential. And some of y'all are going to be like, hello? Hello? This phone was cut off. Her phone was cut off. Yeah. You can live on them credit cards if you want to. They're going to be cracking down on y'all. But guess what? Here's the beautiful part of it. For some of y'all that have been doing the work, this is about checks and balances. This is about getting rid of the fake, and real recognizes real. So it's not about sticking your chest out and, like I did everything right. No, you're supposed to do everything right anyway because you're an adult. You're supposed to be able to cook your food and wipe your ass. That's what being an adult's all about. So I'm just throwing this out here now because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. The next 6 months, you're going to see nothing but this. A whole lot of people taking no accountability for their lives, complaining about something they directly have no control of. The smart people are watching it. We're making strategic and calculated decisions. And no matter what the wave comes, we're going to ride that. We're going to ride it. And we're going to be fine. You just make sure that you're one of them. Peace.